some in at the last minute here, so we'll get started in about a minute or two. We'll just let Dolly finish this one song and then we'll get started.
Christmas is a joyful time if you're the lucky ones. Summer blessed gifts and fragrance of a caravan. Summer feast upon the table, others haven't come. There are the haves and the have-nots, could be even more. It's all about kindness, love and compassion. Better to give than receive. That is a truth that those who don't know that will lay on the poorest in need.
All right, y'all. I hate to cut Dolly off, but she'll be coming back around, so we'll definitely listen to her Holly Dolly Christmas album if you haven't yet. But welcome to Rockin' Around the Family Tree, genealogical resources from the Tennessee State Library and Archives. My name is Casey Jimrick. I'm the Education Outreach Archivist at the State Library and Archives. I definitely noticed a lot of names on our list have been with us before, and there's some new names, so welcome to our webinar series. This is our last teacher development program for the year of 2020. So I'm glad that you guys can join us, and today should be pretty good. I've got a couple colleagues on the call with me today. Kelly Wilkerson, you guys probably have known for quite a while now. She's our Education Outreach Coordinator. She's going to be monitoring the chat and letting people in and helping anyone out. I think she just turned on her screen, so you want to give us a wave, Kelly? Hi, Kelly. And then also presenting with me today is Rebecca Howard. She is our reference librarian at TSLA. If you haven't met her before, Rebecca, do you just want to unmute and say hi?
Hello, everyone. I'm glad everyone's here.
Yeah, we are definitely happy to be here. We're thankful that y'all could spend your Friday Eve with us. We know especially this year has been particularly hard for you guys, teachers. You guys have been putting in a lot of work this year, and we are super thankful for it. And so we just wanted to do something a little bit more fun, a little bit lighter for our December webinar. So we decided to focus on genealogy. And hopefully we'll give you some really good intro tips today. Also, if you guys haven't heard from us before, this is us. We are the Tennessee State Library and Archives. We collect historical documents both from state agencies as well as everyday Tennesseans. So if you found something fun in your grandma's attic, you could always give it to us at TSLA, and we are kind of the keepers of those objects. We digitize a ton of material, especially related to y'all's social studies standards. So we've always got lots of great things online. But if you've been with us for a while now, at least for a few years, then you probably know that we are really, really excited because we are getting a brand new building. And this is a brand new photo. If you guys haven't seen it yet, this is our building. Our new building will be located at 5th and Jefferson in downtown Nashville. So if you see here over in the right-hand corner, these are the bells that ring at Bicentennial Mall State Park. So we're going to be right across the street from the Tennessee State Museum and from Bicentennial Mall State Park. So we're really excited to be in this location. These are brand new photos of our building. All three of us, me, Kelly, and Rebecca, have gotten the chance to go inside and see our new space. And Kelly and I are super excited because we're actually going to have dedicated classroom spaces. So thinking in times post-COVID, we are hopeful to have field trips there in the future. We did get hit by the tornado because the tornado did go in March. The tornado went right down this road where my cursor is. So we did get pushed back a little bit as far as an opening date. But we are hopeful that we will open to the public sometime in late spring. So just a couple months away. So some good news to look forward to. And if you guys want, we have a link there so you can keep, we'll send you all the slides and everything that you see here today. So you will be able to keep up to date with it and watch our building as it grows, but it should be almost done, hopefully, fingers crossed. And then, of course, with this being a webinar, if you guys are here for professional development credit, Kelly is going to send out an email at the end of this, probably tomorrow, all about the different slides that you've seen, any questions that were lingering, as well as how to get the professional development certificate for today. And you can always email her at kelly.wilkerson@tn.gov for one as well. But with that, unless anyone has any questions, I've got the chat open as well, so feel free to type those in as we're going along. We're going to throw a bunch of information at you today, so feel free to stop us at any point if you've got any questions for us. We're really excited to get started on it, though. We are here to talk about genealogy, which is family history. If you guys have been with us before in a teacher development workshop, you know that Kelly and I spend a ton of time with those social studies standards, just like y'all do. And we're always mining our collections, looking for really cool historical documents that are going to help teach those standards. But there's an entirely different side of the State Library and Archives that you guys might not get to see. And it's a huge part of what we do for the public, and it is being a resource for family history. Rebecca can back me up on this one, but I'm pretty sure the majority of our patrons, of anyone who walks in off the street to come to our building, is a genealogist. And so we've got a ton of really great genealogy materials there. Rebecca, are you about to, do we get mostly genealogists?
Yes, yes, every day, every day.
So this is kind of like the other side of TSLA. This is our bread and butter. This is the stuff that we really know how to do. And we thought it might be fun to do a webinar based on family history because it really has been growing in the public the last few years. I'm sure all of you have seen, or maybe you've even purchased the DNA kits that come out, especially during the holidays. I'm always seeing, you know, Black Friday or Prime Day, or I guarantee you the day after Christmas, these like the 23andMe or the Ancestry.com DNA test, they're going to go 50% down on Amazon, so you can get one. And they're really cool. I've done both Ancestry and 23andMe for myself. And it's really cool to see the percentage of how I relate to other people who have taken the DNA test, and you know, finding fourth cousins or third cousins, anything like that. But what these DNA tests, they leave out a huge part of the story, right? You might have names of you know, family members that are alive now, but what about people who have already passed? And how far back can you get that story with actual names? And so that's kind of where genealogy comes in, and that's especially where resources like the State Library and Archives comes in, because we're there to help fill in those missing puzzle pieces. We're there to kind of help you guys get those names that are missing from the DNA kits. And it's really fun to go through and learn about this. We last summer, in the times before COVID, Kelly and I held a family history summer camp for kids ages 8 to 12. And we had a ton of fun with it. The kids got to draw out all of their family trees. They learned a lot of information, which was really fun for us to share. And we're going to do some of those activities today as well. You'll see here, these are our kids. Again, Dolly's popping up again because they followed Dolly Parton's genealogy, and they created her tree, her family tree, as well as these kids. They were digging right into the primary sources, the same sources that you guys are going to be introduced to today. We were looking at census records and birth records. We were looking at all sorts of family trees. We were doing a deep dive. It was a week-long camp, and we had a lot of fun with it. We hope to bring it back in the future, but for right now, we're going to take some of those activities and we're going to make them virtual. And the way we're going to do that is we're going to look at some genealogical terms today. because that's kind of the first step in genealogy is learning all the terms, because you got to know, because if you walk in, you need to know what a census record is or a birth record. And we're going to learn about those today. And we're going to do that in a virtual way, kind of make it a little bit more interactive. So if you guys have a smartphone, or you can just open up another tab in your browser, I want you guys to go to kahoot.it. And I'm sure a lot of teachers have used Kahoot before. It's super popular in the classroom. I super love it for virtual learning because it makes it a little bit more fun. And once you guys get there, you guys should see a game code. It should ask you for a game code. I want you to type in 4069840. And that should pop up with a name. You can spin it to get all sorts of fun names. It's definitely a fake name that it makes it up for you. But remember your name that you pick, because that's going to figure out who's going to win this little game. You want to make sure that you're the fastest with the most correct answers. And if anyone has trouble getting to Kahoot, just type it in the chat and Kelly will try her best to help you out. Oh, we've got some coming in. We've got Excited Panda, Classy Crab, Cute Swan. I think we've got about 20 teachers with us. So, you know, I'll give it a couple minutes for everyone to get signed in. And we'll get Dolly back up. All right, I'll give it about another 20 seconds to get in. Let us know if you're having trouble. Liz, let us know if you get in. All right, Liz, did you make it in? Don't want to start without you. Oh no, something went wrong. Double check that you've got the right code. All right. Okay. Sorry about that, Liz. Right. Let's go ahead and get started. There's only 8 terms, so we should go through this pretty quickly, but it's kind of fun to test your knowledge. All right. So our first one here, you're going to select the correct definition. So we're doing definitions and terms for all 8. An official count of the population of a particular area. In addition to counting the inhabitants of an area, it collects other details such as names, ages, citizenship status, and ethnic background. Is it genealogy, Ancestry.com, census, or a birth record? You should be able to answer with the corresponding shape on your phone and color. "20 seconds to get." "10 seconds, get them in." All right, yeah, good job, guys. We got 8 of the right answers. Of course, that is the census record. Who's up top? Excited Panda. Okay, guys, we'll continue on then. Here is vocab number 2. Handwritten documents and records, such as diaries, letters, or family Bible entries that can contain items relating to family, business, or organizational papers. It could be manuscripts, is it cemetery records, declaration of intention, or inventory. I think we only had 10 playing, so I'll go ahead and keep on going. All right, very good, y'all. It is manuscripts. We've got tons of manuscripts at the Tennessee State Library and Archives, and if you've ever used one of our primary sources before, it probably came from a manuscript collection. Let's see. Oh, now Excited Panda! But we have Fabulous Owl. All right. Number 3. An original record created at the time of a particular event. A first-hand account. Is it a secondary source, a primary source, a family tree, or a probate? Oh, we got 11 in. Okay, perfect. Got 30 seconds to go. I have a strong feeling you guys probably know this one pretty well. Got him. Hey, yeah, everybody got that one right. Of course, it is a primary source. We've got lots of those. Let's see how we did. Ooh, Classy Crab was fast. All right, our next one. The most basic information available for a person. These statistics include birth, marriage date and place, divorce date and place if it's available, and death date and burial place. Is it a secondary source, family pedigrees, evidence, or a vital record? Yeah, okay, this is a vital record. Yeah, so we've all got them, right? We all have birth certificates. A lot of us have marriage certificates. These are all vital records. And these have been kept for a very long time, and we can get so much really good information, especially for genealogy, from these records. Ooh, Excited Panda, back on the way up. All right, here we go, number 5. This is a woman's surname before she was married and took the name of her husband. Is it a dowry name, a fraternal name, a wizard name, or a maiden name? Ah, yes, it is a maiden name. Very good. Yeah, that everyone got this one right. These are super important, and it's hard to describe to kids how to follow it. It can get kind of confusing, so we're hoping to help that out. Good job, everybody. Fabulous Owl is just fast. All right, an ancestor's offspring. That means children, grandchildren, and every new generation in a direct line. Is that an ancestor, an affidavit, a descendant, or a dissenter? Yeah, it is a descendant. Yeah, so we're all descendants of some sort, right? And right, let's keep going. Ooh, Classy Crab, back on up. Okay, so this is the study of your family's history, the process of tracing your ancestors back through time. I think you guys are probably going to get this one pretty quick. is genealogy. Very good. Not herbology. No Harry Potter up in here, sadly. But yes, this is genealogy. This is what we're here about today. Ooh, lucky goat coming up on the board. All right, and this is our very last definition. The relatives you descend from directly, including parents, grandparents, great-grandparents, and the list goes on. Is this a descendant? Are these cousins, consorts, or ancestors? Yeah, good job, everybody. It is an ancestor. Very good. Let's see who finished it out. Let us know if you're the winner in the chat. Let's see who's number 3. Lucky Goat. Good job, Lucky Goat. Number 2, Classy Crab, which means number 1 has to be the owl, right? Fabulous Owl. Yeah, feel free to say who you were in the chat. But for now, we're going to go ahead and go back to our PowerPoint. Congrats, Fabulous Owl. So good job. This was a good introduction to these Kahoot terms, or to these genealogical terms. Again, these are just on the PowerPoint, so you could refer back to them in case you do anything like this in the classroom. You actually are able to get genealogical resources in your classroom. So that's what Rebecca's going to talk today about, of how you can access those from both your home, from TSLA, and even from the classroom. But again, you know, census records, out of all of these, are probably my favorite. Just some fun facts about the census record. It comes out it's released to the public after 72 years, which means the next one will be 1950. And it comes out in April of 2022. So I'm really excited for that, because I think there's going to be a lot of people we know on that census record, some grandparents that might show up, which will be fun. Sadly, and I just learned this just a few weeks ago, if you look for the 1890 census, you're not going to find it, because it burned in a fire and only 1% of it survives. So that's only about 6,000 names. But again, these are just quick little definitions for you to use in your classroom. And with that, if anyone has any questions about the genealogical terms, feel free to throw them in the chat. But for now, I think I'm going to pass it over to you, Rebecca, and you're going to get us started with learning how to do our genealogy.
Okay, let me share my screen and we'll be good to go. Okay, let me go to my slide. I hope everyone's doing well. Let me get there. All right, so the records we're going to start with today are going to be basic ones, like Casey talked about in her Kahoot game. We're going to first talk about vital records, because those will really be the records that help lead you to more information. So here are some quick things about vital records of Tennessee, and this will vary from state to state. So the time that it's private will be different in each state. So for Tennessee, birth records are public after 100 years, death and marriage after 50 years, and like Casey said, census after 72 years. Tennessee began keeping birth and death records in 1908. Some of the larger cities did keep them before 1908, the larger cities like Nashville, Chattanooga, and Memphis. So it's just good to know what you will be able to find before you jump into genealogy. You know, if you're looking for a birth record from 1840, it's not going to exist. Or if you're looking for a death record from 2 years ago, that will be with the Office of Vital Records, and it won't be within a resource like Family Search, Heritage Quest, or Ancestry. So I'm going to hop to, so the first one we're going to talk about today is Search.org, and Kelly sent out some information about logging in. It's okay if you didn't start an account already. I'm going to walk you through it, and you can join that later if you'd like. So let's go to Family Search's homepage. All right, so here we are on the main page of Family Search. Family Search is awesome. We use it every day. We recommend it to our patrons every day for getting started in genealogy or even seasoned genealogists. They have 7 billion searchable names, and every year they add about 350 to 500 million images. So they got a lot going on. They're constantly digitizing items from microfilm and adding it to the website. So the first thing we're going to do is go to the search and under records, right where my mouse is. Okay, this will be the main jumping off page for starting your genealogy. So here we have the general search historical records where I'm waving my mouse. Down here, we have find a collection, and this is where the historical records collections will be. And that's really useful if you know exactly what kind of record you're looking for, because then you can narrow it down to mainly those records. All right, and another thing I do want to mention is the catalog and books. The catalog is great for if you know of, say, a family history book that that a surname is mentioned in. You can find it and you can potentially find a digitized copy of it. So I'm going to do a quick example of that right now. A surname that's pretty common that we see with genealogists is Scruggs. So I'm going to look up that one. And we'll do search. And if you want to find a digitized book, as much as we would love to have you at the state archives, some of them are available through family search. See pages, and that's awesome for, you know, kind of getting some more context on a certain surname. So we're going to go back to our search, and we're going to start with the first record. Like Casey, I do love census records because they have so much information. So we're going to start with a census record. And we're just thinking about, you know, everything that can be drawn from it. And that's really is probably the best jumping off point that I start people on. So we're going to start with, I picked a man named Daniel Brown. So we're going to do Daniel Brown, and we're going to assume we don't know a ton of information about him. We're going to just know that he lives in Davidson County. So we're going to place Davidson County, Tennessee. And then the only other thing I know about this Daniel Brown is that he was born in 1856. So right here under birth year, we can do 1856. And I know that he was born in 1856. So I'm going to do 1856 to 1856. Right here with the range, if you don't know the exact birth year, but if you know it was in a 10-year period, you can do 1856 to 1866 or however big you want the range to be. And then one other thing I know about him is that his wife's first name is Laura. So we're going to start and search from there. So this should narrow it down pretty well, even though Daniel Brown is a common name. And it's making me sign in. Okay. And this will be the results page, and I'll be under, show the records by individual records, and then it'll show the collections that the records fall within. Okay, so we're going to see, so I see this one, here's a date, June of 1856 with a wife named Laura. I'm going to assume this one is him, and I'm going to click into this. Now in family search, when you first click onto a record, you will see this quick view window, and on the left it will have the index information, and on the right you'll be able to click into the actual document. So I'm going to click in. All right, and some basic functions of family search is right here where my mouse is wiggling. You have the page viewer, so if you need to hop to a different page, you can go back and forth. If you need to zoom, there are zoom functions here, zoom in, zoom out, and there's a full screen option here. Move my thing, and you can also download a material, you can print a material, and if for some reason you need to adjust it, there's a toolbar on the top right. So we're going to zoom in here, and we're going to see the main census, and again, this is 1900. All right, so like Casey mentioned, they have locations, so it'll have the house number and the dwelling number. It'll have the name, relation to household, so it'll say head, wife, son, daughter, or boarder if there was someone just living within an extra room in their house. Personal description. Nativity is great because if you're trying to go back a little bit further, it'll list the birthplace of their father and mother. So if you are not sure where their father and mother came from, a census record, if available, can help you lead you in that direction. And then we'll also list occupation, which is another helpful thing for kind of figuring out what your ancestor did. So we're going to go down and how information you can pull from this. So here's Daniel Brown, there's Laura, and their 5 sons. So 5 boys in one household. Poor Laura. All right, so you can see he was a Black male born in June of 1856. He's from Tennessee. His father's from Virginia, and his mother is from Tennessee. It looks like everyone else is from Tennessee in the family, and we can see he worked in lumber. So the census record really is an excellent way to start with that basic info. You can find out the kids' names, and then from there you can, find the kids' birth and death records if they're public by then. So I really love starting with census records, especially if someone doesn't really know anything about other family members. So we're going to do a death record next. And for this one, I want to utilize one of those historical records collections that I pointed out down here. So we're going to do a notable Tennessean, someone we Daniel. We're going to do Alvin C York. He was a military officer. And I know for a fact, thank you, Google, that he died in 1964 in Nashville, Tennessee. So under here, under Find a Collection, you can do Tennessee deaths. And you can, so when I select this 1914 and 1966, and again, you would have through 1969 because that's after 50 years. However, not all of them are available. So just because you don't see a 1969 death record on Ancestry or Family Search, it doesn't mean you can't access it. So right now you can access records through Family Search and Ancestry and through the Tennessee State Library and Archives through 1969. I just wanted to point out that it doesn't just stop at 66. So we're going to do Alvin C York. And York. I'm going to add a always great if you do know a middle initial, especially with names like John Smith or Daniel Brown, because that can cut down a lot of results as well. And we're going to do death, and we know that he died in Nashville, Tennessee too, right where we're at right now. And like I said, we know he died in 1964. We're going to search. So his record is actually a great example of how there can be typos when people create records. So even though you think, how can they mess up his name? He was, a well-known guy. It looks like someone else is wrong. So it's always good to keep in mind when you're looking for an ancestor that there might be misspellings in the name, and you might have to try some variables. So as you can see, they spelled his name Cullen instead of Cullum on his official death record. But the death record is also another great resource for gathering information about the family. It'll have his birth date, it will have his parents' name, where he lived, how old he was, cause of death, burial and funeral home involved in his services. So you can scroll in. All right, there's his birth date. It has the date of death up here. Right over here where it says death number, that's going to be the file number. So if you see this in an index and you go, I know his file number is 24127, and you want to order a copy, you can come to us, or you can look on a family search and you say, this is the file number I need. It will always start with the year, so it's 64 for 1964. All right, the two parents, William York and Mary Brooks, and the name of the husband or wife. And the informant's always going to be the person who notified the examiner of a death. So great resources to kind of see, who else was in the family and where they were living, where you can find their grave. So death records are also awesome for doing that. And some of the functions within this one are also going to be under information over here. You can also just double check that you're in Tennessee Vital Records, so you can know the broader collection. So we're in death records, but the broader catalog record is Tennessee Vital Records. And if you ever need a citation, there's more information down here. Okay, so next I want to talk about Ancestry via Tell. So on tntel.info, there is a genealogy tab. Here you can access a bunch of great genealogy resources. And I'm just going to go right to Ancestry via Tell. Even though you can search the Tennessean and Heritage Quest and the Tennessee Virtual Archive here. And if as a Tennessean, you have free access to this all the time. So we're going to go in here. And right here, it gives a little summary of the collections they have. So there are Tennessee delayed birth records, death records, city birth records, like I mentioned before, some of those cities that kept birth records earlier than 1908. Other death records, will and probate records, and land registers. So we're going to click into this one. And we are going to look for a birth record of someone else, of another name we recognize. So you're like 1907, that was before 1908. So his birth record will actually be a delayed birth record. So I'm gonna show you an example of that one. So we're gonna do Albert Gore. And again, we know he died in 1907. And within Ancestry, there is this little exact tool. So that way you don't have to worry about other Albert Gores popping up that were born in surrounding years. And then we know he was born in Tennessee. And if you don't know the town, you can just put the state, and that will still narrow it down quite a bit. Here, you don't have to worry about that because this is just Tennessee records. Okay, so we're just going to leave basic information and see what comes up. All right, and then only Albert and narrowed it down just to that record. We're going to click into this. Again, there's a little bit same function.
Hey, Rebecca,
So.
I think you might be breaking up a little bit.
Oh, sorry.
Kelly might confirm with me if it's just me or if we're hearing it. So I might want you to go back to the very start of this this birth record, please.
Sure. All right, let me go back. Just in case anybody missed anything. Casey, did you
I saw where you typed in Albert or Tennessee 1907.
Okay, then I'm just going to click into the now. Most of the family search. Zoom controls are here. If you need to download it, you can right here, prints, rotate left, flip, invert. Those are all great ones. And here's the full screen thing right there. And if you do have an Ancestry account, which you'll be able to make one free here, you can save it and start creating a family tree, which is great if you really do want to put all your family information in one centralized location. Information you can find on a birth record. Now, the delayed birth records are a little bit different than birth records that are commonly issued, but they still have the same information, just the organization of it is a bit different. So you'll find name at birth, date of birth, again, the file number, which is always awesome if you know that ahead of time, his mother's maiden name and his father's full name, and they're both born in Tennessee. So you might say we don't know who Albert Gore Sr. is, and you want to know where his parents were from and start working your way back. A birth record, like the death record and the census record, is another good way to kind of start piecing those together, right? You see he's born in Carthage, Tennessee. And right here on a delayed birth record, it tells you how he obtained the birth record. So you would have to get a court order to obtain a delayed birth record for this example. He was born in Jackson, and just assigned. So on a regular birth record, you'll see a date that it was presented. So it'll have the birth date, and then it'll have the date that the record was filed. Okay. Now those are the main records I want to look at. I'm going to go back to this. I have both of those records. You want to pop into these and take a look at them and see more specific information, you are more than welcome to. But does anybody have any questions about family search or Ancestry via TEL or the other genealogy resources in TEL?
And I'll just do a small plug for the Tennessee Electronic Library. If you haven't used it before, because I know we're always shoving a ton of resources at you, but the Tennessee Electronic Library is a great source, not only for genealogy, but if you need primary sources or reference articles for your classroom, especially if you teach world history, it's probably my #1 source resource for world history teachers. So definitely check out the Tennessee Electronic Library if you haven't before.
All right, Casey, I'm going to hand it back off to you.
All right, so perfect. That's actually a really good segue. Thanks, Rebecca. If anyone has any questions while I'm showing you the last little bit, feel free, and Rebecca will definitely jump in and help us out with that. I know it's a lot of information at the start, but yes, so Ancestry.com is a great use, and so is Family Search, and Family Search is free, what I really love. But there's also something else that I wanted to show y'all in case you guys haven't heard about it before, and I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. So Ancestry.com is a for-profit company. Obviously, if you had to do your own account with them, I think it's something like $59 a month, maybe. However, as you guys are teachers and you're teachers in Tennessee, Tennessee has this partnership with Ancestry for access to Ancestry K12 in the classroom. And so that's going to give you access. Basically, Ancestry K12 is very similar to regular Ancestry, but it doesn't give you those little leaves that you can connect through your family tree. So you just have to do a little bit more of your own work. But it gives you access to Ancestry, so where we saw all of those great genealogy records that Rebecca showed us, but it also has Fold 3, which is fantastic for military records. And then, of course, newspapers.com, which I really love, because if I'm trying to find if I'm looking for a specific event, but I want to see how Tennesseans reacted to it, I can go to newspapers.com and look at just Tennessee newspapers, and I can do a keyword search for whatever term I want. And so you just have to fill out a grant every year. So you'll go here, it's ancestryk12.com. We'll make sure to give you that URL, and you'll hit apply and apply for grants. And then you'll just scroll down here and insert that information, like your school name, your phone number, that sort of thing. The thing that's most important that I want to bring attention to is this school external IP address. Essentially, because of the way that Ancestry K12 works, you have to do it from your school. So you can't go home, log into your account, and do it from your house, but you can do it from your school. You just need your IP address, and I think it's mostly because the IT departments for particular schools like to set these up in batches. So you just might have to wait until your IT department can get to you when we're back in school. So it's a great thing. I always love plugging away at that. We can try to answer as many questions about Ancestry K12 as possible, but because none of us actually work for Ancestry, we're kind of limited on that knowledge, but we can definitely help you with that or any other kind of genealogical research that you might have. But because I know we've got a few new people here, I wanted to just bring attention to our website. And if you're not new with us, if you've been hanging out with me and Kelly and Janice for a while, welcome back, and we miss you a ton. But also we have a ton of new stuff. Especially in this virtual environment. We know that it's really hard to teach right now, and so we have been trying since March to make it as easy as possible. Whatever we can do for you guys, we want to do. So if you've never seen our website before, Kelly's going to put it in the chat, but this is our education webpage. And what that means is we have an education department that is 100% dedicated to bringing out primary sources that are going to work for you in your classroom based on your standards. And so my favorite tab here is the primary sources tab. We have laid this out according to the different historical eras that are in your standards. So if we clicked on something like World War I, because we talked about Alvin C York earlier today, you could scroll to this and you're going to get all sorts of keywords that are coming straight from those standards, so you're going to be really familiar with them. Additionally, we do have the 2014 content standard numbers on there. It is our big hope, our big dream one day to change those standards, to update them to have the correct updated number, but we are not there quite yet. So stay tuned if we can get that done. And if you can cross look at the other standards that we used to have in 2014, you're more than welcome to do that as well. The big thing with these primary sources is that we have tried to keep them the best of the best. We have tried to pick, if we look at something like prohibition, we try to keep these very small. You'll see that there are only 16. We don't want to overwhelm you with primary sources. We have been told, especially this year, that all teachers really want is, access to sources and try to have them as, neatly done, as quickly accessible as possible. So that's what we're trying to do here. Additionally, a big task that we've done, this is the whole new shout out to anyone who's been with us before. A big goal of ours for the last few years has been to transcribe every single written document that we have. And, there's not a ton of great things with COVID, but one of the things that we have been able to accomplish is that most of the handwritten letters or handwritten documents in our education collection have now been transcribed. So you'll be able to pull up a PDF of that transcription, and we're slowly doing them out. So if there's one that doesn't have a transcription, we probably already have it done. You just need to email us and we'll send it right to you. But you can download this source. You can do whatever you want with it. You can do whatever you need to. And this is definitely our bread and butter. If there's something that you don't see that we need to get for you, just let us know because we will gladly do that. So that was for my newbies. For people who have been with us before, but you want to hear some new stuff we've got going on, we've got tons. Under classroom resources, this is a great tab to see anything from our teacher created lesson plans. We've got a ton of them down here separated into grade levels, so feel free to check those out. But the new thing that we got, and we just launched these in August of this year, so you may not have seen them, they are our digital breakouts. You've probably used a digital breakout in a classroom, or maybe you've heard about it, but it's essentially an escape room in a digital style. And we are constantly updating these because we're so excited about them. We've heard really good feedback from y'all. If you guys have any feedback, please tell us. If there's a theme that you need a digital breakout for, please let us know. We've got two different kinds. We're looking at elementary school and high school, and it's all through Google Forms. So it should be really easy. You'll see here we've got one on Alvin C York. We've also got some for elementary school. This is our Ida B. Wells one. So in it, you're going to get it's just a Google slide. And within it, you can click around the room on different hidden objects. And that could be anything from one of our great primary sources. This is an oral history, to short videos, anything like that. And so your students just go around, collect the information that they need, and click on these locks to break out. And then they get to learn the story of, in this case, women's suffrage through a fun and interactive activity, which should be really fun. And we're really excited about those. So stay tuned because we're going to keep rolling those out. We've got lots of fun ones. So those are our digital breakouts. Another new thing that you may not be aware of is a student history of Tennessee. We did release this about 1.5 years ago. Our blue book is essentially a state's guide to Tennessee. So it's a how-to guide to Tennessee. So it talks about how our government is organized, the history of Tennessee, and we produce these every year. But this one we have done a teacher edition, a student edition. So it is rewritten by a teacher geared towards a 5th grade audience. And what I really like about it is if you click on any one of these chapters, here's the Tennessee Coming of Age one, you're going to get terms and definitions, which is always great. And there's primary sources that you can click on and go directly to that are coming from us. But one of the most helpful ones, and we've definitely heard this a lot from you guys this year, is our assessment materials. So, when your students are at home, you can send them, hey, read chapter 4 and do the assessment. So these assessments are created by classroom teachers. And we have 2 of them. We have either a generic read and answer quiz, or we have discussion questions as well. So you can definitely click on those and get all sorts of really great information from there. The only thing I will mention, and there's a note of it here, Kelly and I know that your students are super savvy and they would find the answers if we put the answers to the assessment materials on our website. So you have to go one extra step and email our education.tsla email, and we will gladly ship those to you, the assessment answers to you super quickly. We just wanted to make sure that your students didn't get access to that because they are pretty smart kids. All right, and then the last thing that I want to show you guys before I make sure that we give us some time for any questions that you guys might have is our at-home learning page. We knew back in March and April that the world was thrown a huge curveball and none of us really knew how to navigate this new world, and your students ended up being home for most of the rest of the year, and the parents had to become you guys and learn how hard your job is by teaching their students. So we wanted to come up with some ideas that would be helpful for them. And this is some really good activities that your students can do at home. You can have it as an assignment. We've got all sorts of resources here depending on grade level. We also have a couple of different activities that compare what we're going through right now with COVID to the Spanish flu epidemic. So I definitely suggest those. If you guys have any materials that you guys would like to donate to us, we have a way to record your experience, and we would definitely love to hear those stories. But the thing that I think is most useful on this page is our primary source activities. So back in April, we decided to do a primary source a day for parents based out on our Facebook page. Because we heard that's how a lot of students and teachers were interacting, was through social media, because that was the only option that some of our counties had. And so what this is we have picked essentially one of our favorite sources a day that relate to your standards, and that way, it's already prepackaged. We also had a set of questions, inquiry questions for your students to answer about that primary source, as well as an additional critical thinking activity in case you wanted to include that as well. So these are really great if you just need something like a bell ringer at the beginning of the day or something to start a topic. This is a great way to get started on that. But for now, if we don't have any, let's see, I've got my chat up. So if you guys have any questions, feel free. This right now is our last slide. It's just make sure, follow our education website. We've got Facebook and Instagram. We're trying to get hip, I promise. But all that to say, thank you guys so much for coming to our webinar. Do we have any questions? Let's see. Kelly, have you seen any?
I have not seen any questions come through yet, but everyone feel free to drop them in the chat or even unmute yourself and ask Casey and Rebecca directly.
Yeah, for free. And if we don't have any, Rebecca and Kelly and I are going to stay on here for a few more minutes. I'm going to put Dolly back on. But from Kelly, Rebecca, and I, and Janice, I think our buddy Janice, who's also in our education department, is on the call. Just thank you guys so much for everything that you do, especially during this year, and for our students in Tennessee. We can't tell you enough how much we appreciate you. And thank you guys for coming to our webinar and always showing up and being interactive with us. If there's anything we can do, please let us know. But other than that, please stay safe and have some fun holidays, even if they're a little weird this year. Thank y'all.
Hi, I have a question. How did you get to that? I saw on there on your digital learning that students could document their COVID-19 experience. Where was that?
It is under our at-home learning page. And it's perfect because it's both for students and adults. So there's this one right here that is record your experience. And this is for everyone. So this is really, it's great because it is a Google form. So that way you can share as much as you want, as little as you want, and whatever type of materials that you want. So that is just the generic COVID collection that we are doing. But for students as well, we have a comparison activity right here that says documenting pandemics, exploring and creating historical materials. And that way they compare a series of primary sources related to the Spanish flu, and they take that and make their own primary sources, historical documents. They get to create their own history, essentially, through this activity. And if you want to share that with us, we will gladly take it. We love seeing all student-created work.
Thank you. My classes already had their big state test, and so I'm trying to fill in activities that will be meaningful for them.
Yeah, and we've got a ton, so please let us know if we can help out in any way.
I have a question. I am getting ready to retire soon, and I'm trying to move to a different, warmer location. So I have a lot of family history documents. To bring them to the museum, do you just bring a box and say, here you go? I have an uncle, a great uncle who was the mayor of Memphis, so I have a lot of his things. I have a lot of old cotton records. Are those things that the museum and the archives would like?
Well, Julia, we can definitely, so while Kelly and I are not in charge of what gets accepted, we can definitely put you in contact with the head of our archives, that collection services, and we can definitely get that conversation started. I'll make sure to, is it Julia Williams?
Yes.
Yeah, I'll make sure to write your name down, and so Kelly can take note of that when she sends out that email that she'll send out tomorrow.
Okay.
So good.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. Thank you. Like I said, guys, I always love stuff. I always want fun things in our collection. It can only be good.
I am also going to drop our reference email address. So that's another way you can reach if you have things you want to donate, or if you just have questions about our collection or any kind of research request. I'm going to drop, it's going to be ask@tsla.webenters.com. I'm going to throw that in the chat.
Okay.
And we can assign things to staff members as well. So if you want to submit a question to the email, just put in the chat. We can send that to the person that coordinates intake.
Okay.
You guys can always respond to Kelly's email tomorrow. She'll give instructions in there on how to get a certificate for today's webinar as well.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks, y'all.